think you shall become the father of all resilience activities in this nation. Thank you so much. And we want to encourage everybody to rally towards Floka and support Floka in all ways. Thank you so much. And I'm happy to be in Omambe. I just landed from Rusinga Highlands, you know, just right now, just from the Rusinga Highlands, where I was just enjoying the largest fish in this place of the largest county of fish called Omambe County. We just landed.
Makofi kwake. Because when you are waiting to learn something from the great land of the Trump, of the Americans of the Silicon Valley, Kagare Northward is here with us. Kagare Northward has now water, which now they can now use what they call the green resilient tea, which is now selling at a premium price, more than the tea that you have been running around chai ajioni. So that is why when I saw her, I just say there is a story here to tell. Was it not a story? And by the way, a number of people have been talking, we don't know even their words. Which word are you coming from? Because we are elite. You know Kileleswa. You know Ronda. You know Milimani. People know Siji where. But when you ask them, a village just next to them, they wobble around Kadidhiani, Katutundunu. Oh my God. Are we Africans of African origin? Ladies and gentlemen, this is our moment. Do it and let it do it. Now, let me call a man. There are people calling themselves civil society organization. They are the supremo. They are the people who are watching how governments are very incompetent, how counties are corrupt, how people are not. Let me call the chairman of the Civil Societies Forum in Kenya, which was coordinated by Floka, and tell us, as the civil society, what is the transformational thing that you've done in building the resilience of the local people, children, women, people with disabilities. After him, there is indigenous people here. You will hear from the none other than indigenous people. I'm an indigenous man, a man who eats raw samaki. See, that is an indigenous person. Indigenous is not to eat chips. And she just says he ate the biggest raw fish. That is an indigenous. Bring more ladies from Embu to eat that. Mr. Chairman, over to you. Tell us.
Thank you very much, Peter. Yes, for a very long time, civil society have been called noisemakers. I know you must have heard of that where you come from. My name is David Busiene, and Peter has insisted that you must tell us even your village. So I think it has started very well because we are talking about going locally led, and so people must know where they're coming from. I come from Nandi County. I hope that is ticked. I am the focal point Floka, Nandi County. I come from Chesumei sub-county. Yeah, you must know this, because now people need to know you. I come from Chepterit location, Segut village. That's where I was born. Chepterit location. So if you are looking for me, you can now know where I come from. And my ward is Kosirai Chepterit ward, where I work very closely with the ward committee there for Floka. Yes, this is important because we are talking about locally led. And you've heard that in Floka we have got the civil society representation. And the question is, why the civil society? Because so many people have been wondering, why would you bring noisemakers in the midst of a development agenda? And we are happy in this country that the Constitution gave us an opportunity to really participate in development as the citizens. And this is where the civil society comes in. Then what would be the role? And I hope, Peter, when I speak, I will not be called again to speak. Yes, because I want to tell these people everything. So I hope I'm not going to be called again to speak. Why the civil society? What is the rationale? Why would a development agenda in Kenya involve the civil society? If you look at the Constitution, the Kenya Constitution 2010, there is an opportunity which we were given as the citizens of this country for public participation. And before I do that, I want to quote a very, very serious professor, and I keep on quoting him. Sometimes it can be controversial, but there's a bit I want us to get. He's called Professor Peter Evans, who wrote a book that is called The Impeded Autonomy, the Case for States and Industrialization. Peter said, he shares the same name like Peter, he was a professor of political science in California University. He said, and I'm just paraphrasing him, that countries that develop faster are those that work in partnership with the people. Countries that develop faster are those that work in partnership with the people. And I'm very sure this is the rationale behind why the development partners that sat down and they've been supporting FLOCA said that the voice of the people must be added here, especially when you are talking about locally led. How can it be locally led? And I want to use a common phrase that people have been using. If Wanjiku's voice is not there, how can it be locally led? If Mama Njeri's voice is not there, if Mama Anyango's voice is not there, Peter sometimes says he is fighting for his mother in this process of FLOCA. If these people cannot come to the table to make decisions, to give priorities, to talk about what is important that they feel is affecting them with regard to the climate crisis, then what solutions are you going to offer? This is the reason. So civil society plays a critical role as climate actors in implementing the FLOCA program. Why? One, they serve as catalysts for community engagement, advocacy, and knowledge dissemination. Three things. Catalysts for community engagement. If you go to a community, there are people who are called gatekeepers. And sometimes in mainstream development, you kind of think these are people who do not make any sense. But these are the people that the community rely on. Opinion shapers. You go there and you have not met these people understand this kind of program you bringing down, it will be shut down like that. Regardless of whether you have done it very well, you have packaged it so nicely, but when the voice of the community is not there, that program may not be accepted. And that is where the community engagement comes in. And therefore, that local person that you think may not have a say, has a say with regard to what is affecting them when it comes to the climate crisis. They know where the shoe pinches because they are the wearer of the shoe. And this is what informed the reason why you need civil society in this process. Advocacy. You see, there are a lot of things that can happen. Government is sometimes very good in making decisions up there and imposing it on the people and saying, this is what the government has said. Sometimes there must be a voice of reason that says, no, to us, this is not a priority. Our priority is giving us clean water, accessible water, or a clean environment where we want our forests conserved. Don't just come and bring a white elephant project that is not benefiting the community and impose it on them because you have a different agenda. So that person advocating for the community must be able to stand up and say, no, we are not going to accept. Knowledge dissemination. These are people who are sometimes learned, informed. They have gone to school. Others are opinion leaders. When there's knowledge that the rest of the community members need to learn, you need to have these people disseminating that new knowledge. For Floka to be acceptable, even in some certain places to be acceptable, the civil society must stand out. They must tell people what is meant by locally led. Those people must be trained to understand why their voice is important. They must be told how to identify those projects. What are the priorities? Lastly, because it looks like I'm taking a lot of time, Floka is actually implementing the principles of locally led adaptation. And you cannot speak the language of adaptation without speaking the language of agriculture. And that is where you get the farmers at the local level. That is where you get these people that you need to give this information for adaptation. There's a lot that I could tell you, but yeah, because of time, we will always get time to talk and talk. Therefore, civil society's voice and participation is very important in advocacy, social accountability, and capacity building. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, as you are going down, we all believe and know that the role of civil society is critical. But the idea of somebody going into a village where there is 75% positivity and success, and a big 15% negative, and escalate turn 15% to 75%, is that moral? It's wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, the time has come where Africans must now project the positivity of Africa. You can say you missed water for one day, then you say all Kenyan 56 million people have no water, and then we are very bad. You can't get one thief, and then you say everybody is a thief. Are you justified? Now, ladies and gentlemen, today, those who went to America in the early 60s, including the people from here, the late Tomboy and the team, some of them are being returned back home. When they were dropped by parachutes, they don't know what they left home. Make your word great again. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an appeal from me that civilization starts from your word. And if you think that you are an elite in California, that you are an elite in London, that you are an elite in Tokyo, that you are in Copenhagen enjoying the good trains, the day when you will be returned to your word, first of all, they will not know you, you will not know them, and they will ask you, where did you go when we were suffering? And you will say, I was misled. Today, we want to say we informed you in Homer Bay. And God, Allah, will not forgive you. Ladies and gentlemen, we now have a quorum. Let me take this opportunity to call the organizers to come and take the podium. The session that you have, that one was locally led session. The people by the people and themselves. See, we are now happy. Makofi kwake. Now take charge, my man.
Thank you, brother. Na makofi kwa Peter. He always knows how to make sessions such as this one very lively. Thank you so much, Peter, for that. My name is Mark Agutu. I'm the Executive Director of Green Communication Institute, which is a climate communication entity that drives people empowerment through effective communication, information sharing, and basically community empowerment. We are a member, we are privileged to be a member of the Kenya Platform for Climate Governance. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to shift gears a little bit, but we are still focusing on the locally led action and feedback from the same. I tend to believe we've all been here since yesterday and up to now, the kind of discourse that is going on about devolution. Actually, we are seeing devolution being described befittingly as Kenya's most transformative governance shift since independence. And that's for the sole reason that it has brought the government closer to the people, ensured equitable development, and helped us as a country kickstart a reversal of decades of marginalization. In the same breath, we in the climate space, right now we have every reason to celebrate FLOCA for its grassroots people-centered approach that gives priority to the strengthening of local resilience to climate change by empowering county governments and communities to implement climate resilient projects and manage climate risks effectively. The reason why we are here, and that is the launch of the FLOCA delivery report today, therefore, is a pivotal moment for us to reflect on the journey traveled since the inception of FLOCA. We are here to celebrate the countless success stories, some of which have been highlighted here. And it's so good when it comes from the people. We get to know it firsthand. Celebrate those success stories, catalog the challenges so far noted for action, and also to reaffirm our commitment to making climate action in Kenya a resounding success. Therefore, ladies and gentlemen, without much ado, allow me to invite my brother James to bring in the panel. Yes, to bring in the team that will take part in the discussion on localized action. And as he comes up, let me also call them out. Madam Charlene Adhiambo, Executive Director, Siaya Muungano, please come on board. Makofi kwake. Madam Lucy Sembei from Kenya Red Cross, please come up. Mr. Nixon Otieno from Habitat, my brother Nixon, you're somewhere there. Mr. Douglas Onkeo from Nyamira County, CSO Focal Point. Are you there with us, sir? Thank you very much. And Madam Wendy Mitoko, Kisumu County, CSO Focal Point. A very vibrant lineup. Thank you. Join us, please. So on that note, allow me to hand over to my brother James Keter from Action Aid to drive this session, and then I'll pick it up from there. Brother James.
Asante sana ndugu Mark, makofi kidogo kwa ndugu yangu Mark. Kidogo because you'll be coming back. Thanks, Omwami. So as Mark has said, and as you've heard from stories from the first speakers, we have a serious panel, and from this serious panel we're going to speak about the real changes, as Ndugu Peter said, the real changes that are happening on the ground, but also what are the few challenges and the gaps that we are experiencing or they are seeing from FLOCA. I'll start with Charlene from Siaya County. Probably if you look at how FLOCA works in Siaya, and sorry about that. Charlene, if you look at Siaya County, where you come from, and your ward, Ndugu Peter is telling us, let's localize, tuangalie ward. Can you share some of the community-led interventions your organization as Siaya Muungano has implemented that are enhancing resilience at the local level, and how they can be scaled or replicated in other counties? Just your experiences around FLOCA and how this can be replicated.
Okay, thank you so much. My name is Charlene Adhiambo. I work with Siaya Muungano Network, which is a women rights and a youth development organization based in Siaya County. And I come from North Alego Ward for the sake of our colleague who challenged us to, from Peter, who challenged us to think locally, that is, specifically East Alego location. Yes, so for us, in terms of financing locally led climate action, whatever it is that we have done as an organization, first I'd like to mention that we have been cognizant of the fact that issues of climate change is here with us. It's an emergency, and therefore we must act very urgently. And as Wangari Maathai normally says, that her small way of creating change was planting trees, and asked each and every one of us to identify our small way. For us as an organization, we have had small ways at individual levels, but also at community level. And individually with community members, we've been able to have sessions where there is environmental education that is happening amongst community members through our community facilitators. So we normally have facilitators who are assigned to different groups, and to make it easier, we have the sessions when the groups are meeting, so that we do not have to incur cost, and that is a sustainable way of us doing it. Secondly, we have encouraged the adoption of kitchen gardens at the community level, given that most of the times you work with women and girls at that level. So we encourage them to take up conical gardening, which is a little bit easier for them at their level. But also at the group level, we have been able to also cognizant of the fact that economics play a very important role in terms of us being able to adapt to the changes of, in terms of climate change. So we have also embraced, I'd say, loanings and savings, so that then we are able to look at alternative ways of how these community members are able to get income or the other things that they're able to do to adapt to the changes that we have in terms of climate change, but also promoting drought-resistant crops like sweet potato farming, which sometimes they do individually but also as groups. So for them to be able to do that effectively, we link them to other resources that are available. Like currently we have over 4 groups that were able to get funds from the Next Level Grant Facility, which has supported them to do large-scale farming of drought-resistant crops. But also institutionally, we've been able to work with schools. So this year we piloted something called Food Forest in schools, where you have, the school allocates a space, and then within that space, then you are able to have different crops. One, it is a learning space for the students in the school. So we are making an assumption that they'll be able to learn and replicate that back at home. But also, there is one of the schools, it's a special school for learners with, learners who are deaf. So we supported them to rehabilitate their water supply system, given that we know that during drought sometimes it's also a big challenge for community members to access water. So through that water, the other community members are also able to get water through the institution during times when there is so much drought. Yeah, thank you.
Makofi kwa Shalin.
Oh, and something else that I forgot to mention, we don't only work in terms of supporting community members, but we've also been doing a lot of advocacy work. Recently, we did a social audit of all the FLOCA-funded projects in Siaya County, just to be able to see whether there is value for money. But we've also been doing public expenditure tracking survey of several other climate-related projects, so that we are able to provide feedback in terms of whatever it is that is going on. Thank you.
Thanks, thanks, Shalin, for all that experience that you're having from Siaya County. I think the whole idea from your experience we are sharing is for us to learn and see how can this be taken over. And I like the idea that you initiated the food forest within schools, so that children and young people are able to pick it from there. Allow me to pass it over to Nixon. Ndugu Nixon from Habitat for Humanity. Now, we've always known that housing is just brick and mortar. How does housing and climate change interact?
Okay, thank you. I'll be able to speak about that shortly. Habitat for Humanity actually focuses on low-income families to enable them access housing. And our model is to build more and better homes. And we are not just building homes, but also transforming the housing system, looking at the market, looking at the policies as well. So that at the end of the day, you have a sustainable system. And then inspiring the whole society towards focusing on housing, because you can go to a place where you find somebody vulnerable and there's a rich society around them. Why can't they take that action and initiative? And so in all this business, we want to see that more and affordable houses are built. we want to see that houses have basic services. It's not just water, it is energy, everything that is required. We want to see that houses have secure land, because at the end of the day, if land is not secure, you don't have good houses coming in. And then we want to see houses become more habitable. And this is what now brings us closer to these forums. How do we make houses become more And so we are actually focusing on housing models that then can withstand the impact of climate change. With the current situation, it is becoming more hotter in certain areas, becoming more colder in certain areas. Sometimes there are areas where they cannot even withstand the wind itself. Flood is also a problem. And so the houses that we are coming up with are actually geared to enable communities to be able to withstand that kind of a pressure. We were in Tana River sometimes in 2020, and we found a dire situation that enabled us to move actually towards that direction to see whether we could address that challenge. At that time, about 70% of the population were actually displaced by floods. If you go to Tana River, you'll realize that the settlement is along the river banks. And this is about 55 villages with about 58,000 households. So how do you attend to such a situation? And the county had already mapped out a way of how to get out of that situation, move people from the riverbank to the hinterland. And they had actually set very nice clusters. But the issue is, how could people settle in a more quicker way? Was there a solution that then can enable people to see the need to actually be able to move? And so that's why we came up with this model of housing that is actually shown on the picture behind. If you look at the house itself, it is composed of walling material that you can assemble even within a week, once you have already done the substructure at below and you have the floor. Quickly assembled, and then you have the roof on top. The walling material itself is hollow. I've already brought in some of them, like the one that is actually below, but this one is twisted. This one is square. And so it is all in between, meaning that if you construct this with the house, the air that is in between the hollow spaces provides that thermal effect. So you'll find that if you are in a hot environment, the house is actually much cooler. The other thing that we're realizing is also more affordable, because it's not a hollow block, it's not a complete block, it is hollow. So the cost of construction is quite low. And so it is costing us about 25,000 shillings per square kilometer to construct a house. So that is quite affordable. And the methodology that we are actually using is a fundi-led approach, where we are training fundis to be able to do the work, and they do it within their locality. So materials are available to them, the house is affordable, and is also able to withstand climate change. So in front of me is just a variety of materials. I have a technical person who will be able to explain to you if you actually need to know each of them and what impact they can create in housing. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Nixon. Makofi for Nixon. I think our mics have a problem. I don't know if you can get better mics, I think we'll appreciate.
Yeah, two.
Asante sana, Nixon. Probably because of time, we may not be able to showcase this, but I'm sure you have a stand at the booth, so maybe you can share the booth number, and those who want to learn more then can visit your booth.
Yeah, please visit our booth at 305. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Nixon. Houses and disasters. So Nixon speaks about how do we construct better houses that can withstand the climatic conditions but also within the space that we live in, where we are live to disasters. I'd like to move to my sister from Red Cross. She's called Lucy. Lucy, how has Red Cross been able to localize disaster management when it comes to all these climatic conditions that we are having?
Thank you so much, and good afternoon, colleagues. I'll start maybe from the known to the unknown. I know that most of us know Kenya Red Cross as a disaster management entity, and that is very true. However, I've seen or heard quite a number of questions, like what are you doing with the tree planting? What are you doing with the planting? Getting involved in agriculture and all that. So maybe I will start by demystifying the disasters that we deal with as Kenya Red Cross. So we have slow onset disasters like the drought, which I know we are all familiar with. And the slow onset disasters are actually silent killers. This country is perennially becoming exposed or overly exposed to the kind of disasters that come with climate change. I know we understand about the sudden onset disasters like the road accidents and all that. I may not need to talk about that, but now going to how we come in to support the slow onset disasters. Kenya Red Cross appreciates the fact that there's quite some damage that has been done on environment. So first and foremost, we look at how to restabilize the environment, and we do that with quite a number of interventions. Maybe I'll just mention a few. We support nature-based solutions within the counties, and we are in the 47 counties, so I may not need to talk about which county because again, we have a very clear understanding of the landscape of emergencies within the country. Having been in this space for quite a number of years, we understand which region has what emergencies and what kind of responses need to happen within those counties. But again, coming closer to localization, Kenya Red Cross is actually a member organization. All of you seated here can become part of us. And that makes us then very much well-versed or, with a very clear understanding of the major issues that affect the counties from the very grassroots and driving the response actions all the way to the last mile. Our volunteers, which I know we are all aware about, are not necessarily idle people. We have volunteers that are very technically sound, very well endowed with technical skills, but because they want to give back to the communities, they then become our volunteers and they become part of the task force that is driving forward the actions that we do. So I talked about environmental sustainability, and we do a lot of tree planting. The nature-based solutions will again vary depending on the regions. Where we have the marine or the coastal counties, we will of course adapt to the same. I'll also talk about disaster risk reduction. We have 13 emergency operation centers within the country. And these operation centers are actually hubs for collection of resources, for collection of information, but also for coordination of communication when disasters occur. This we do very closely with the government and making sure that we are aligning to the government aligned ministries that are to do with the different types of disasters, so that we are then very much in line with the government agenda, but also representing the communities within such. And maybe I can give an example of flooding, which happens quite a lot in the region we are in. Oh, I forgot to say that I come from Kitui County. That's my home county. Yeah, so ideally we make sure that our emergency operation centers become also a place for collection of information, but not just collecting the information, but also disseminating the same information. And why do we do this? Because part of what exposes our communities overly to the disasters that come with climate change is lack of information. But again, also, the fact that they have the information, but there are other socio-cultural factors that influence how they use that information to make decisions. And why I'm saying this is because we've been quite a while in the space of early warning, early action. And for those of us that are aware, we recently came up with a roadmap on anticipatory action, which is running from 2024 to 2029. The communities may be aware of what disasters we anticipate, but what is that challenge that makes them not probably make early actions and maybe cushion themselves from being overly impacted by those disasters. So we make sure that we are considering factors like the social cultural factors that maybe if I'm a pastoralist and I do not want to dispose my cattle, so Kenya Red Cross comes in through our local networks, because again we have to use networks of people that understand. Like, I do not own cattle. I may not be the right person to tell a pastoralist that they need to dispose their cattle early to evade the loss of livelihoods because of a drought that is probably already projected. So we use the very local voices that already understand. So how do we then again make sure that the local voices are well endowed with information? We do a lot of capacity building of the local communities, making sure that we have voices that can speak on our behalf and make the communities aligned to what we see as the early warning and early action information that we need to give to the communities. I'll also talk about food security and livelihoods. We all appreciate that in the country, over 70% relies on agriculture for production, for livelihoods. And so when the climate change issues affect our communities, it means that they are likely to also lack a lot of other accesses. Like, for example, they are not likely to probably access basic education, basic health care, because they depend on subsistence farming. So what we do on this is to support our communities to be able to do meaningful farming by adapting to the climate change scenario that our country now cannot run away from. And so by this, and I think she already mentioned, we do a lot of adaptation, making sure that the communities are not just doing the local or the traditional methods of farming, but they're adapting to what the climate change demands are like. So that we do through a lot of research. We bring on board the bit of innovation to make sure that we can innovatively support our communities to come up with local solutions that are both affordable but also sustainable. And this is because if the community is given solutions that are way too high for them to reach, then they are not able to maybe afford them and such, or not able to align to the same. And so we support our communities to do innovation. And maybe I can give an example of that. We have some poultry value chains within the communities, and we know very well that the cost of feeds, for example, within the counties is very high. So a community that is already disadvantaged because of the climate change challenges, and then they're supposed to also purchase inputs to support farming or to support production, may not necessarily, be able to access that. So we support innovation where we give them the skills they need, and this we do again in collaboration with the institutions that are doing research on matters food production and all that, and we make sure that we support them with what it takes to do formulation of local feeds for poultry. That's just an example I'm giving. And so we are here. We are glad to have you all collaborate with us, but also becoming part of Kenya Red Cross so that we can keep moving this agenda forward as a team. Thank you.
Asante sana Lucy. Makofi kwa Lucy. One thing that I didn't know about Red Cross is what Lucy has mentioned, localized voices. Localized voices. I thought Red Cross was more of a top-down approach where you only run to disasters. I didn't know that you also engage communities to find solutions. Asante sana, Lucy, for that. I'd like to move to my brother Douglas. Localized voices. What are some of the emerging practices that Nyamira County is picking up as part of FLOCA? And what are the participatory frameworks that you are implementing or trying to implement within FLOCA?
Thank you so much. I'm Douglas Orutonkeo from Nyamira County. I represent an organization called Empowered Citizens Against Poverty. That is in Nyamira. And in Nyamira is a count of possibilities. We have been able to do a lot as an organization. One, we came to realize that the community, they were not aware about FLOCA projects. So we have been able to create awareness. We have been engaging the community and assisting the county government of Nyamira so that the community can understand what FLOCA is. Recently, actually, we have launched a program we call Greening Nyamira. We have actually selected 35 people, that is from every ward. That is, we are training them on to become green champions so that the information can reach the locals. I'm very happy, Peter Tengo, we got your people, Shakespeare, Miller, they came to Nyamira. Actually, we have launched a program And then we are going to train them on circular economy, that is on waste management, because also we see our waste as a resource on a long place. And we have worked with, there is an organization which from Netherlands, actually, which has come to Nyamira to put up recovery machines, that's for waste recovery materials, that is biodegradable waste, plastic waste, so that we can recycle them. Again, we are going to do 4K clubs in 20 selected schools, so that, you know, we want to go or to align it with with the CPC program, so that we can train these young people, so that when they go back to their villages, they can be able to pass that information to the that is at the village level. We are doing springs protection, because in Nyamira, you see, we are trying. It's a place where we have a lot of rainfall, so we are trying to move away from borehole. Because you see, when you just dig a borehole, you are affecting that is the system. And again, Nyamira, we have a lot of water. So we are encouraging, actually, we are talking with the county government, so that this money, FLOCA money, can be taken more to water harvesting technology. And actually, we protect our springs rather than digging the borehole. So actually, that is what I can be able to say, what we have been able to do in Nyamira. Of course, we can't miss challenges here and there, but we are trying to work hand in hand with other partners. And again, we are encouraging other partners who are here, just come to Nyamira, it's a count of prosperity, so that we can be able to actually work on this climate or the FLOCA project in Nyamira. Thank you so much.
Asante sana ndugu Douglas. Makofi kwa Douglas tafadhali. As Douglas mentions, the kinds of initiatives that they're having on the ground in Nyamira, which I'm sure, as we also heard from Shalin, sounds similar to what is happening in Siaya. We like to hear from Kisumu County. My sister Wendy, what are the challenges? Because all these good things, I'm sure Peter is looking at us and wondering, I would not add anywhere, my input is needed, so maybe I just need to go home and rest. What are the challenges to experience, and what are the opportunities that FLOCA has brought to young people? If you look at it nationwide, but having Kisumu in mind.
Thank you. So, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Wendy Adhiambo Mitoko. I come from Homa Bay, but I work in Kisumu, and I'm the CSO focal point for FLOCA for Kisumu. So, I'm just looking through the challenges, and these challenges cut across not all the counties, basically, because in the CSO engagements that we've been having, we normally discuss these challenges, and we find out that the FLOCA-related challenges are cutting across all counties. So in terms of implementation of FLOCA, you understand FLOCA should be locally led, which to me, that is not a reality, which we are trying to advocate for. It should be locally led, which is not being implemented the right way. So one of the challenge is poor coordination amongst different structures that are put in the counties to look through how FLOCA is being implemented. And you understand that there's, at the ward level, there's ward climate change planning committees, and at the county level, we have different level of committee, be it county climate change planning committee or the council. But you find out that in terms of coordination of how FLOCA is being implemented, the ward committees normally are sidelining the implementation process. At the beginning, in the planning stages, they were fully engaged in the participatory climate risk assessment, coming up with the prioritized project. But when it comes to the next stages, which are very critical in the project implementation, you find that these ward committees are usually left behind in terms of knowing even which project is being implemented in which financial year, where is the project location, which challenges are they foreseeing in terms of the implementation of those projects. So that is one of the challenges that we've seen that is affecting how FLOCA is being implemented, and we are trying to address that as CSOs. Another challenge is awareness about FLOCA. FLOCA, yes, it is gaining momentum in terms of, yes, it is a flagship project that is which is advancing locally led action on climate change. But you find that at the grassroots level, huko mashinani, awareness about FLOCA is still low, and that is also affecting our knowledge gaps in terms of, is this project a FLOCA project, is this project a county project, or is it another donor-funded project? So knowing that this is a FLOCA project or it is not is also a challenge that CSOs are trying to address. Another challenge is transparency and accountability. We know that counties have established a county climate change fund, which is a matching fund to FLOCA. But in terms of monitoring if this is a FLOCA project or this is a county climate change fund project, there is that gap in understanding which fund is supporting a certain project when it comes to that. So that is why CSOs are coming up with the social accountability tools just to monitor and track how climate finances like FLOCA is being implemented. So transparency is still a challenge because even the county governments are not even giving information to the CSOs in terms of the progress of the implementation of these projects. Another challenge is the institutional capacities of these world climate change planning committees. Yes, they are there, but their capacity to execute their mandates as stipulated in the policies or in the climate change acts of different counties is still low. So even oversighting these FLOCA projects, you find that they don't know what to do in the first place. So that is where we come in. That is an opportunity that we also leverage on. Just to strengthen the capacities of these world climate change planning committees to understand their roles and to ensure that FLOCA is being implemented effectively to build the resilience of the local communities. Another challenge, maybe it's within Kisumu, I don't know whether it's experienced in other counties, the slow implementation of FLOCA projects. We understand that CCRI came in late, but even the progress of implementing these projects is still low. Some projects up to now, they have not been fully been implemented. Something that we realize that it is because one contractor was awarded more than even 2 or 3 projects. So managing those many projects within a set time frame becomes a challenge to complete these projects within a specific period of time. So those are the challenges that CSOs like Douglas and each focal points in every county is trying to address and to leverage on those opportunities to work around just to ensure that FLOCA is being implemented effectively, to ensure that it builds the community's resilience towards climate change. Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you. Just one question to you. What is the biggest enabler that you've seen?
Sorry?
The biggest enabler that FLOCA has been able to have in Kisumu County?
Enabler. So, yeah. So in terms of how FLOCA is being implemented, the one enabler of FLOCA is how CSOs and even the ward committees are collaborating to ensure that it's being implemented well. So that collaborative and partnership approach that we ensure that we ensure that we keep the government accountable on how these funds are being utilized. So we normally bring the CSOs together, capacity build the ward committees, and just to ensure that the right thing is done when it comes to implementation of FLOCA.
Thank you very much. Kindly let's appreciate our panel. And Bwana Peter, you've had, there are not only challenges and opportunities also there. And Wendy has really summarized and finished. That's a punchline that you take back to Treasury. That it's enabled community structures to be more organized. Lakini pia sio kupinga CSOs. Allow me to call my colleague Mark just to come back to the stage as we exit for the next presenters. Oh, excuse, Ezra. I'm requesting that we do a photo. Kindly just for the photo. For the panelists. Miss Mama, ladies.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause as they exit the stage. Thank you, my colleague James, for that vibrant session. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me now to call upon my sister Elizabeth Karaoke to come and moderate the session on institutional arrangements for inclusion and community engagement. As she comes up, allow me also to establish the protocol by acknowledging the presence of the following. We are honored to have in our midst Daktari Midhika Mwenda, the Executive Director of PACJA. Thank you, Daktari. Makofi kwa Daktari. We are honored to have my friend Mr. Kinudhi Amuradha from the World Bank. Makofi. We have around the one and only Peter Odengo, FLOCA Program Coordinator, National Treasury. He's just walked out. He actually moderated the first session. We'll also have two other guests who will join us as we progress. So, and then just a quick request, if we by any chance have someone who has expertise in sign language interpretation, kindly contact me so that our engagement is made all inclusive. Thank you very much. I hand you over to Elizabeth.
So thank you very much. We all appear really dull. I hope you're following, and the next session will be extremely exciting. So we have a panel of distinguished experts on climate governance who I'm going to call to the stage. And the first one is Dana Dino, FLOCA PIU representative. Please let's give him a round of applause. The next one is Honorable Samuel Mugo, County Environment Executive. Are you in the room? Thank you very much. Let's give him a round of applause. Then we have Mr. Philip Akello from the Royal Danish Embassy. Thank you very much. And then Mr. Geoffrey Muthoka, Chief Officer, Environment, Natural Resources, Mining and Climate Change. Thank you very much. So we are going to progress from the panel that we have just had. So we have heard about, best practices as well as, local actions that are happening and that organizations are facilitating. So in this particular session, we'll be speaking about institutional arrangements for inclusion and community engagement. And we will start with Dana Dino. Yes. So Dan, we want to start with you and kindly describe the institutional arrangements and organs at national level for locally led climate action. Just a description.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, the strength of FLOCA relies on the institutional arrangement that is driving the process. We have the structures at the national level and also the structures at the county level. So at the national level, we have the highest organ that supervises flock activities, that is PSC, which is constituted by the relevant PSS, National Treasury, Environment, Devolution, and this is at the top level. Then in terms of technical implementation, we have the ITAC, that is Interministerial Technical Working Committee, that guides the operation and work closely with the PIU, Project Implementation Unit. So in ITAC, we have the relevant MDS, we have social protection, we have NEMA, we have KMD, we have COG, we have CAJ, about 15 of them that provide technical support to FLOCA, working closely with the Project Implementation Unit at the national level. Then when we come to the county, we have the technical arm, that is the CCU, a county climate change unit that is made up of the technical officers and also led by the director climate change at the county. So, and also at the county we have committees. We have climate change planning committee, and also we have climate change steering committee. That now these committees give direction to the CCUs on how they manage the technical aspect of the program. And because FLOCA is locally led, we have the lowest organ, which is World Climate Change Planning Committee. This is the one that is closer to the community. So all this communication flows from the national all the way to the village through the climate change, World Climate Change Planning Committee. And then now, not to forget the CSOs. This is now like the oversight organ that is working to oversight all these structures that we have mentioned. And you can see the CSOs are doing very good work. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. You have tackled both national and county. Honorable Mugo, please just speak a bit about county and how that has worked, and also just comment about the effectiveness of that structure.
Thank you. I'm Samuel Mugo, CCM Water, Climate Change, Environment, and Tourism, Sanitation, Nyandara County. And what you have heard from the gentleman is there nothing but the truth. That's what is happening even in the county. At the county, we have the steering committee. That is, the chairman is the deputy governor, the secretary, the CCM, I'm the secretary. And now we have all the other CCM for finance, CCM for agriculture, CCM for health, the chief officer, they are in the steering committee. We have the planning committee. And also now we have the CCU, which has the chief officer, director, 2 climate change officers. We have the auditor on board, all that team that oversees the directions from the planning and the steering committee. And down there now we have the World Climate Change Committee, which are 9 in number. In Nyandaro, for instance, we have 9 times 25 because we have 25 wards. 8 of them are elected by the members. Wananchi on the ground in the world level. They elect transparently. We have set structures to ensure that those elections are free and fair, and they consider all the relevant points that we want. That is, those who are involved in the environment, they have ideas in the environment. We look at gender, we have to have 1/3 from both sides. We have to check on that. But we don't come and gag them on what they are doing. We give them a lot of freedom, and then the 9th person is the ward officer, that is the administrator, so that to be the eye for the government and to see what goes on. And there's also the secretary of the ward committee. The ward committee are very strong in Nyandaro County. We don't have issues there like issues of tender there. The ward committee, they decide on the projects. I like the way FLOCA have set things and the act which we passed in the assembly. It is very strong, and it gives very strict instructions on where to conduct things. The World Climate Change Committee, we don't bulldoze them on which products to choose. We have a proposal committee in there, and grievances committee for solving grievances in case there are disagreements there. They elect through consensus on how to do. For instance, we have 2 biogas projects of around 6.5 million. They are the ones who chose those biogas projects. They chose one of the secondary school there that borders a forest. that have been destroying forests through firewood. So they chose that project. The committee itself, the ward committee, and also they chose 30 people. The 30 people are from the vulnerable groups, that is the old, the aged, and also the physically challenged. They are the ones who benefited from the 30. The 30 biogas that are already launched. We launched them and they are already operating. The school, which has been destroying the trees at Kadanje, is next to a forest to get firewood. They are now cooking and using the biogas. They are no longer destroying the forest, which is the source of Lake Oroborosat. You have heard of Lake Oroborosat, the only highland lake in central region. So that's what we have been doing. And the committees, they have been operating so well, and the CCU have been oversighting. Floka, you have done a wonderful job. Or what maybe can happen is that you try and lobby for more funding, because like Nyandarua, it borders the Aberdare. The Nyandarua strands 100 kilometers on the inside side. We border Nyandarua, and that's why we gave 7.5 million through community suggestion to conserve Lake Oroborosat catchment. We have been having problems with Aberdare conserving the ranges, because they supply water to Lake Naivasha, through Malewa, to Konoike Dam, to Nakuru, and also Sasumwa. We need some more money for conservation. But we have been very strict that we ensure the instructions that we have from the Act and from FLOCA, so that we give 20% to water, 20% to environment, and 20% to agriculture. That has been followed to the letter. Of course, water takes a bigger chunk, because Nyandarua County is an agricultural land, is an agricultural county, and we rely so much on water. That's what I can say today.
Okay. So we'll move over to Philip. We know that development partners have played a critical role in funding FLOCA. And just as he was raising, I mean, the question is that financing is never enough. But how have you managed to link the priorities of communities and financing the FLOCA process?
Thank you. So I'm called Philip Akello. I'm a resident of 2 counties. Kajiado North, I come from Olkeri Road with my brother Muratha here. But I also come from Siaya, Alego Usonga constituency, Central Alego ward. So at least I know my ward. Thank you. Also just to acknowledge the presence of my other development partner colleagues who are here, Priscilla from Germany, Muratha, of course, World Bank. Just to say, development partners, we are friends of FLOCA, having been there from the point at which it was formulated. But I think I will begin by saying, for us, speaking on behalf of Denmark, that we've been very keen to align our funding, first and foremost with the national policies and plans. I think that is key. And secondly, of course, with the community needs and priorities. I think that is really at the core of our funding. I think sometime last year, Denmark launched what they're calling the Africa strategy, and about the partnering with Africa. And that was key, is listening to Africa, listening to the countries, listening to the communities. And I think for us that is of great value. I think FLOCA ticks a lot of those boxes. The fact that it is locally led, that we are able to listen to the community needs, and therefore we feel comfortable in that sort of arrangement. Remember, traditional donor funding has been, you even come up with activities way before they're implemented, and then you put in funding for implementation. But FLOCA is the exact opposite, where funding is made available, but we have faith that our communities will be empowered to come up sort of with the solutions to address their needs. And that is where the whole funding for us comes in. But let me also say two things as I finish. Investing, therefore, in the local communities or local institutions becomes critical. And I think we are talking about institutions here. I think we've been very patient as development partners over the years. We were a bit frustrated at some point. It was taking too long. I remember sometime my ambassador was like, when are they receiving the funds to start implementing projects? We want to see some projects, you know. But we understood the importance of building institutions up to the ward level. And I think the donors were very patient to that, and just to allow these institutions to be built up, so that then when funding begins to flow, at least we have got capacities that have been built. But let me also say, development funding is also shrinking. I think let's be realistic. We know what has happened with the USAID. You hear of countries also reducing on their development funding. Lucky enough, Denmark has not reduced. They have said they will not, at least in the foreseeable future. But then that brings, as you talk about funding, we need to foster different types of collaborations. So yes, there is a public funding that comes from, you know, the countries, basically the taxpayers' money from the countries like Denmark, Germany that we work for. But also there is a need for the private sector. What role can they play? For instance, in FLOCA, we have philanthropies and so on. So with the time, we may need to look into the projects that are coming up from the counties, that how can we also attract some private finance and the different types of climate finance that is available, because that is the reality. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think just to move on from that conversation, Makueni County was a fast mover in terms of developing the structures and starting to implement FLOCA. So for you, I'd like you to share what the best practices have been, as well as speak to an issue that was raised in the previous panel, where it was said that in Kisumu County it has been difficult for communities to distinguish what is FLOCA funded and what is just a regular development project. What kind of initiatives have you put in place to enable communities to be able to make that distinction?
Good afternoon, everyone. And Peter said we need to associate ourselves with our home places. So Dr. Ngovi Mothoka is from Makueni County, Makueni Sub-County, Kitise Kithuki Ward. And I'm serving as the Chief Officer in charge of Environment, Natural Resources, Mining, and Climate Change in Makueni County. So let me start from from exactly what she has said. Makueni this far has been able to fully involve the people in their development projects. We already have a policy that was passed in 2021, a public participation policy, and no single project can be implemented in Makueni by the county government without adhering to all the requirements of that policy. So public participation in Makueni is a must. And currently we have an act, we have a draft act, or we have a bill that is in the assembly, which is just about to be enacted. So typically, this is how our climate change or our FLOCA project in Makueni will look like. The first thing that happened, in 2023, Makueni did what you call the PCRA, that is the Participatory Climate Risk Assessment, and documented all the climate risks within Makueni and possible projects that could be done to build resilience. And they are all documented for each and every ward in order of priority. So in the event that now we want to start implementing a FLOCA project in a given area, we start by public participation. We go back to the people and tell them these are the projects that you gave to us and we are now ready to implement that project. And it is at that point that the community tells us maybe the first priority was picked by another partner, so we are okay with that. Maybe the first priority for one or two reasons is not the immediate priority, or even the county government has funded. Then now we identify the specific project that we are going to implement. Then after that, we do what you call the screening, the project screening, so that you can get to know the climate risk. At this point, we involve the ward climate change planning committees. The first public participation is invited, everyone is invited at the ward level. But for the project screening, we work with the ward climate change planning committees. These are committees who are elected by the same electorate at the ward level, and they have a representation just the same way Waziria has explained it. So after that, we now take our technical officers there, the engineers, the water project, the agriculture officer, and all other technical officer to do the project design. Once the project is designed, then we are able now to tell the actual cost of the project. Maybe we had a reserve. The minimum we give for any project in Makueni is 10 million. So if we had a reserve of 10 million, for example, we go back to the people and tell them, yes, we came here, you told us you want us to do a certain project, distribute maybe water to a point A, B, and C. But with the 10 million that we have, after the design, we are not able to distribute. We call that a feedback session. Once again, another public participation. So we cannot be able to take water to point A, B, and C with the current budget, but we can be able to do point A and B. Then we give the community to decide. Then for us, maybe C was a priority. You can ignore A, so they identify and tell us, if that is the budget that is available, then this is our priority. Then after that, that is the time now we do now the environmental impact assessment. Once again, as a requirement by NEMA, when doing the environmental impact assessment, there is public participation involved. So I will not explain that much because it's not unique to Makueni. Then we start the procurement process. During the procurement process, we put a mandatory pre-tender site visit where every person, because all our projects we do open tender, where everybody who is interested in quoting or in bidding for that particular project must attend a pre-tender site visit. And beside having the technical officers who give the details, maybe we are talking of concrete reinforced tank, maybe 100 cubic meters and all that, the community is also there. And they will give their laymen also information to those people who are interested in bidding for that particular project. The community will tell you, just know that at the end of it all, water must be at point A. We don't want to know. And then that becomes one of our preliminary requirements for anybody who is applying for that tender. You must have attended that, you must have engaged the people, and then we sign what you call a pre-tender site visit certificate. Then now, after the tendering process, then during the day that we are doing what you call the site handover, we are taking the contractor to site. The Ward Climate Change Planning Committee members are mobilized. The Ward Development Officer comes on board and mobilizes the community, and also the ward administrator mobilizes the community. And you find so many community members there. And during that meeting where all those community members are there, we elect what you call a project management committee. We call it in short a PMC. When electing the PMC, we reserve 2 slots for the ward climate change planning committees, because these are the people who even did the proposal. They have worked with the project and they know each and every detail of the project. This PMC is empowered fully. We give the costed BQ from the contractor to the PMC. And the PMC members will always be on site. You will never visit an ongoing project, a FLOCA project in Makueni, and fail to find 1, 2, or in most cases you find 3 people who are on duty monitoring the project implementation. Those are community members. They have every detail, they have the BQ, and they have everything that they require. They will ask the contractor questions. Sometimes they will just look maybe at something that they may not understand. They will tell you, do not proceed before we have confirmed whether this is D12, and they will call the engineer. So they monitor the project implementation. Once the project is done, we now hand over the project to another committee, which we call the Project Sustainability Committee. These are people who monitor the day-to-day operations of that particular project. Maybe if it's a water project, they will be able to know how much has been collected, and they can report each and every part of the daily occurrences. So typically that's how we operate in Makueni, and that is the level of people engagement that we do in Makueni. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
On the other issue, it's unfortunate if that is happening in Kisumu, but I think on this particular one, I may side with what Peter said. We should not be having any particular county which has an issue in identifying this is a FLOCA project, but from the county contribution or not. Simply because it's mandatory for you even to qualify to get the money, that even if it's your county contribution, you must transfer that money from the CRF to the special purpose account. So it's unfortunate if it's happening in Kisumu, but a FLOCA project should be identified just simply by on onset, because You cannot implement a project, even if it's a climate change project, and the payment is done from the CRF, and then you say it's a FLOCA project. You must first transfer the money to SPA, and then now it becomes a FLOCA project. So if Kisumu, they're having an issue with that, kindly, you just need to monitor the SPA. Just monitor the special purpose account, and that will sort out all the issues. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think there's so much to learn from Makueni County as always. But I think before we conclude, I want to throw just one more question to Dan. Again, in the previous panel, we had that one of the challenges has been that in some counties, the process hasn't been locally led. What corrective measures would you propose?
Yes, we have also heard that the foundation was the PCRA, that the community were involved. At least the speaker acknowledged that. But in terms of implementation, we need to do more. And she also provided solutions. One of them, build the capacity of world climate change planning committees so that they can also be the one that monitor these projects at the world level. I think that is what we need to do more, and also just to continue creating awareness at the very local level so that many people get to know actually what is happening. Yeah.
Okay, so we will end here. Thank you very much, Dan Adino, FLOCA PIU representative, Honorable Samuel Mugo, County Environment Executive Nyandarua, Philip Akelo, Royal Danish Embassy representative, and Geoffrey Muthoka, Chief Officer, Environment, Natural Resources, Mining and Climate Change. Asanteni sana for your time and insights. So maybe you can proceed here and then we take a photo.
Well, thank you, and sorry for that small hitch. Let's give a hand to our sister Elizabeth and her team of panelists for those very incisive presentations that have helped shed more light with regard to feedback from the ground. I would like now to invite our team to come help me get to disarrange the stage, because we are increasingly moving up towards the climax. Please remember that we are here purposely for the launch of the FLOCA report, which is very, very key for every stakeholder that is here today. So that's actually the climax. And again, still, we are on course to getting very key and very crucial insights from our key guests who are with us today. So thank you very much. As we get rid of that, allow me to invite my brother Kevin Osido. Yes. Kevin, please take the podium. Kevin is the CEO of County Governance Watch, and he's going to take us through highlights of the study whose findings we'll subsequently be receiving today. So Kevin, the floor is yours, sir.
So thank you so much, my brother and friend Mark, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Hamujambo, how are you today? The way we do it in church, once in a while they ask me to preach and to share. Normally we say, unapatia mwenzako high 10. So I want to request you to turn to the person seated close to you and then you give them high 10 and say, flocker. So high 10 means is both your arms, like this. Flocker. High 10. High 5 is 1, like high 5, But kama ni 10 ni both your arms. So 10 fingers. Flocker. Naona kama hata wapiga picha walikuwa wanangojea tu hiyo, They are looking for action. Thank you so much. I want to really acknowledge the presence of our co-partners, the World Bank, Royal Danish. Thank you, Muratha, for coming. Someone I've known for many, many years, mentoring us as young people as we come up. And Daktari here, Dr. Mithika, I see Selela at the back there. But that is not for me today because Faith will be coming to really give us the details of who is here and also what we are supposed to do. But I honestly have to acknowledge the level of partnership and collaboration that I have seen, particularly in the climate governance sector and also the different engagement levels of organizations. Because if you look at just the banners that are here, there are more than 30 of them. And it means that these are organizations that are working together to make a difference and to also bring in change in the areas where we are working. So the task that I have here before we go into the discussing and also the launch of the first ever FLOCA report is to just give you a brief of what this report is and why we felt that it was very, very important. So County Governance Watch, the institution that I serve with, engages with county governments, and the work that we do there, beyond technical support to county departments, and also just research and dissemination of findings that therefore inform. Karibu sana Mheshimiwa Senator Kajwang. You are a man who keeps your word because I know you said you are busy elsewhere, but thank you, Senator, for coming and gracing this event. Yeah. So within the organization, we also have a tool that we innovated in 2015 called the County Governance Index. This index checks or monitors performance of counties on 5 key service delivery areas: health, education, agriculture, water, and infrastructure. And last year in April, we launched another index called integrity. So basically trying to check on how transparent and accountable our counties are. And my colleagues, the Gen Zs that we work with, were reminding me in July, last year, that we didn't know that Gen Z demonstrations would come in June, particularly as Kenyans rallied around to ask for and demand for accountability. But the interesting thing is that we attended the ACS summit that was held here in Kenya, and very many good lessons came up from there. And we also took note of some of the action points and the kind of design of things that are commitments that were made. And early last year, I made a call to Dr. Mithika, and I was asking him, Daktari, how is it possible that we could also assess the levels of implementation of some of the commitments that were made at ACS, and especially because we have financial resources that are being sent to communities and are being sent to various governance institutions, the ones that Dr. Adino and the other panelists were just sharing here. And he was very excited, and he gave us an opportunity. We went to his office, we met with people like Dan Kano Mwami, Faith Ngigi, and the team that was there, together with a team from County Governance Watch. And we said, why don't we monitor the levels of implementation, and we agree on the indicators of how FLOCA is supposed to work, and also therefore the kind of spaces that are available for communities to bring in their voices in this. And so we commissioned a study last year in June. And so the findings that Faith will be sharing with us here are from 24 county governments, engaging with focal points. Some of them we have seen them sharing what they are doing and how it is working there. And we also had conversations from government officials, both national and also county levels. Focused group conversations were done, discussions that also involved largely the community members, the beneficiaries of various programs that are supposed to be implemented by the FLOCA funds, among others. So it is therefore important that we relate what we have seen being discussed here to really vitukwa ground, as Kenyans say. So I want to take this opportunity to invite Faith, who we have agreed that because of time, I just lay the foundation for why this study was done, and then she will take us to a very brief presentation on some of the issues that we found. But it is also important to note that as we saw the demand and call for accountability, because I had my colleagues and friends here talking about social accountability tools. They were talking about mechanisms that would therefore be able to bring in participatory monitoring from communities. So as we look at the findings that are coming up, let's ask ourselves, do they inform what we see with the FLOCA? Are there mechanisms that we can, on things that we can be able to strengthen? And then finally, after the presentation, I'll also come back to just share a roadmap on what we are thinking in terms of how we can be able to move this forward. And then finally, our colleagues will be able to come in and give us some high-level remarks. So thank you so much. And let's put our hands to invite Faith Ngige from Pakja.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Osido, for that introduction. And I notice we have almost all our key guests in the room. So allow me to establish the protocol. So the Executive Director of the Pan-Africa Climate Justice Alliance, Dr. Mithika Mwenda. The Task Team Leader, FLOCA Program, World Bank, Mr. Muratha Kinuthia. The FLOCA Program Coordinator, National Treasury, Mr. Peter Odhengo. And our Chief Guest, Honorable Senator Moses Kajwang. Good evening. So on behalf of the event consortium partners, that is the Kenya Red Cross, Natural Justice, Habitat for Humanity, and FES, with the Kenya Platform of Climate Governance, have really been honored to have you in this high-level side event, themed The Resilience Revolution, Polycentric Governance for Climate Action through Decentralized Lens. What we've had this morning, this afternoon, has been a story of how inclusive, accountable, and participatory climate governance can drive community resilience. We did a study together with County Governance Watch, VSO Kenya, Action Aid, with the support of Pan-Africa Climate Justice Alliance and the National Treasury. And it is now my honor to present to you the findings of that study. I'll just present highlights of what has come up from the study, but just sitting through the various panels that have been here, they resonate with what actually the study found out. So I'll not belabor the points, I'll just go straight to it. So that first slide is explaining about the crisis, the climate crisis in Kenya, and the fact that top-down solutions have not worked. Kenya has 4 topographical ecosystems, and when you use one solution or one size fits all, then there are some areas that are not covered when it comes to solutions of climate change. It is that drives the need for locally led climate action. And this particular study, we did it in the year 2024. The year 2024 was a very special year in the climate change history. One, it was the hottest year in the world. I'm sure if you are around in a meeting, you could feel how hot it was. So it is said that 2024 was the hottest year globally. Also last year, 2024, we experienced the most negative impact of climate change in Kenya. We had more than 2 million people displaced. We had thousands, more than 2 million people suffering from food insecurity, thousands displaced, and our agricultural yield was actually reduced by 20%. So the locally led climate action program that has really been talked about this afternoon here Is a very key intervention for Kenya, established in 2020, and we've heard what it has done. The aim was to ensure, or is still to ensure, that communities have power to determine solutions that are key to the climate risks that they face. It also provides for climate funds to flow to the community level. That's a very unique model in addressing matters of climate change. Why did we do this study? We did this study because as we were engaging with members of our communities, they were expressing several concerns. The concerns raised here by the CSOs about information, about engagement, about being involved, about understanding what is going on. And the more we had that, then we thought, why don't we do a more evidence-based approach towards establishing how truthful these sentiments are, and then also try to find out solutions. So, going just back in that slide, we had three pillars of study. One is the assessment of the governance structures that have clearly been expressed here. How are they working, and how are they enabling community to engage? Secondly is the level of community engagement in terms of their participation, in terms of their inclusivity, in terms of their ownership. And lastly, it was about establishing progress of how far we believe we have achieved as far as FLOCA is concerned. So those three are the three strands that were guiding us in our study. So the outcomes, we interviewed many people in Kenya in 24 counties. We used both questionnaires, having conversations. We engaged community, we engaged the county, we engaged the administrators, and there was quite a lot of learning from all this. We engaged a total of 539 citizens who gave their views on these particular studies. So what comes out is, these are the counties that we studied, the 24 of them. Okay. So we are now at the findings. What were the findings? Very brief summary of what the findings were. Did I go back? So the findings are as follows. When it comes to governance arrangements, all the 47 counties have established climate change acts and policies. I think that has been articulated here. All the counties in Kenya have climate change units. And then 45 out of 47 counties have climate change policies. About achievements, by the time we're doing the study, 699 plus wards had benefited from the climate resilience projects across the country. There is more than 150 plus adaptation programs implemented across the country, focusing on water, focusing on afforestation, focusing on agriculture and the energy sector. There are 46 climate change units, and also we have community plans all the way to the ward level. Issues start coming around here when it comes to matters of inclusion and equity challenges. The groups that feel marginalized are the youth, the women, and the persons with disabilities. Then there's the funding access. Again, this group still feel that FLOCA has not enabled them to get the funds, that special group. And then only 22% of community members view FLOCA processes as inclusive. And of course, this then, we still have an issue around how to address the matters of inclusivity. What is community perception of FLOCA delivery so far? 50% of community members are satisfied with FLOCA so far. 32% are neutral, and 15% are the ones who say they are dissatisfied. On implementation quality, 39% rate activities as poorly implemented, the issue being gaps around quality and sustainability issues. On financial transparency, 41% rate financial transparency and reporting as poor, with limited access to budgetary information and expenditure reports. And when it comes to participatory processes, 36% rate public participation mechanism so that we co-create the perceptions around FLOCA and also co-create the M&E, monitoring and evaluation systems, and then establish outreach programs together so that we can reach the grassroots level, and especially then being able to hold joint reviews together so that we are speaking from the same level. The study also has recommendations on what can be studied forward, because this did not focus on the financial flows, it just focused on the structures and how the structures are operating. With that, I thank you.
A big hand for Faith Ngige. Ladies and gentlemen, it's now my pleasure to add onto our earlier protocol by acknowledging the presence of Honorable Wakili Moses Kajwang, the Senator for Homa Bay County. Karibu sana mheshimiwa. We are also joined by Honorable Catherine Muma, my senator as well. Karibu, madam. She's a member of the Speaker's panel in the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. We thank you. And then we have Mr. Abalawanga as well joining us. Thank you, sir. Now, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to invite my friend and brother, Peter Odhengo, to handle the next session. Hii nataka sasa watu wazito, si ndio? Karibu sana, brother.
Thank you very much. This session does not want Watuwasito. It wants locally led people. The most people in the rural, that's why he's calling me, because the people has got the number. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity to thank Honorable Tieno Kajwang, who is also a member of the Senate on Climate Change Matters, and who we have worked with for long. That's why he said he must be where the climate is. I also recognize the presence of my boss, Murada Kenodia from the World Bank TTL, Task Team Leader, who is with me here. Sir, you have waited, for the locally led, you have to wait for the people to come. and it is good now they have come. We have our colleague from is Dr. Mideka Mwenda, who is also the Executive Director for PACCHA, Pan-African Climate Change Alliance, where all the civil societies in Kenya, in the villages, in Africa, and in the world rely on Dr. Mideka. Please welcome. I apologize on behalf of the people that you have been waiting for long, but this is the price to pay for building the resilience. There are a number of team, ladies and gentlemen, the chairman of the civil society organization here. They talked before you came. You are honorable. But if there is anything, they will talk. Let me now take this opportunity to move with speed and get the time where we need to be to invite none other than Abala Wanga, the city manager Kisumu. Kisumu has been mentioned here severally. And because of his cleanness and because of the missing, Abala, you are the one to fix there. Although you are not here to respond, the chance is you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Peter. Honorable Senator Kajwang, Honorable Catherine Muma, the champions of climate change at the Senate, the World Bank representative, and all protocol observed. Thank you. You've been told I work in Kisumu, Kisumu City as a city manager, Kisumu. And even if you know, I have to remind you that Kisumu is the most clean city in Kenya. And also number 2 in East Africa. Kigali is still ahead of us. And number 6 in the whole of Africa. But in the next few years, we'll be beating Kigali to be number 1 in East Africa, because of climate change issues that need to be financed in Kisumu as a city. You know, there's FLOCA, locally led financing of climate change issues. And I think the World Bank is here. As urban centers, because we have Nairobi, Kisumu, Mombasa, Eldoret, Nakuru now. If you come to Kenya Urban Support Program, it is specific for urban centers. And it finances urban areas improvement, infrastructure issues. So you find Kisumu as a city will get the money, Ahero as a municipality will get the money, Mombasa will get the money, except Nairobi and Mombasa city counties. But FLOCA, yes, it's coming. It's coming to the counties. I'm speaking on behalf of urban areas. I'm the chairman of the Urban Areas Caucus, cities and municipalities in the whole of Kenya. There are almost 176. And specifically, World Bank is financing 70% of that. I know World Bank for urban infrastructure comes with a lot of conditions. That's what I was saying the other side. We give you money, but don't interfere with the ecosystem of the lake, don't interfere with the ecosystem of the rivers. And if you dive deeper to understand the problems of climate change, you'll know Kisumu as a city, we have 2 sub-counties which floods terribly. The worst one is the urban area in Ahero. They live in water all the year. In fact, for them, no water, dry season, just like having winter period. So they live in water, and the financing model to control these problems of climate change in such areas is not impacting. Because if you give Kisumu as a county as a whole, you finance it to deal with urban climate problems. You are dealing with the county issues. You are not dealing with urban areas. because you must understand that urban resilience, the city needs to strengthen its resilience initiative to deal with the floods. How do we deal with floods in Kapuote? The whole of Donga floods, Nyamasaria floods. Flooding is all over, even if in Nairobi last time when there were high rains. And these cities which are on the waterfront, like Kisumu, when there's high water levels, we suffer a lot of problems. One, I'll just repeat what we were discussing with the Senator Kajwang the other side. Kenya was among the first African countries to implement the Climate Change Act and established the Climate Change Fund, which is supposed to be chaired by the president. The president has attended COPs all the way in all these areas. And when he come back, he has never chaired any single meeting on this. And he has never established this fund. So, Senator, I'm debating on your behalf. This is a Senate now. I'm a senator now talking about the Climate Change Act establishing Climate Change Fund. And the president has never responded to him at the chairman. Because once that fund is established, at least we can apportion some for urban areas as a grant to come, as a conditional grant to fund, or to fund us. Second, counties have gone ahead to enact county policy, climate change policy, their committees, all are there. Committees without enough resources to deal with climate change issues. The rest, I don't want to exhaust, but what I'm requesting, that World Bank, can you relook into the model of financing under FLOCA? The need is here, so that we have resources specific for urban areas. For example, if you could be giving a hero even 50 million per year to deal with issues of floods only in a hero, you'll solve a lot of problems than giving 100 million, which will be divided into 10, 12, dig a drainage there, so you do a floodlight there. No impact, because you need to see a solution to climate change problems that are impactful. In Kisumu, when we were given World Bank money, we did non-motorized. Our city center is not flooding. We use the Kenya Urban Support Program 1, the KUSP 1. And through FD, we also received KUP, Kisumu Urban Program, which has drastically changed because we did roads, we did drainage works with it, we did non-motorized, we did fire station, we did public health. And if you come to Kisumu city, you can count those mega projects. But don't engage in funding projects that are not impactful. And don't give money with conditions. Give money with the less condition. The only condition which should be there is auditing. Monitor how I use the money. But don't tell me, don't use this money here. You don't stay in Kisumu, you stay in Nairobi. And you stay in Washington, Denmark. So give me the money. I'm the one who knows where I have problems. But audit me on how I use the money. That's what I'm saying. So please, consider urban centers and urban areas for direct financing under FLOCA. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is why we always involve locally led team. And because he's a Kisumian, and he said that Kisumian, give me, I will tell you how I use it. But he only forgot to say that of the cities in this great republic, it is only Kisumu that is getting FLOCA fund. Of course. Because, Makofi, because of the cities in 2020, it is only Kisumu. So, Bwana Manager, the World Bank team are very grateful. It is only Kisumu. Nairobi did not get it. Mombasa did not get it. But they got the institutional support grant, the two of them. But the investment, it is Kisumu only. And Kisumu, locally led means it is my grandmother to prioritize, not the World Bank, ladies and gentlemen. Make now your grandmother to tell you that I want money for aero, and not my boss, Ndugu Muraba. Ladies and gentlemen, let me call Dr. Medeka Mwenda to make few remarks for this. This is how Floka is designed. Dr. Please come and make a few remarks, and then you see.
Thank you, Peter. My friend Senator Kajwang, Catherine Muma, Murada, and the team, Akelo, and all, I stand with the existing protocol. It has been a very long day for us waiting. You know, when the big people come, they disrupt everything. So when the former Prime Minister came, then we went to disrupt. I know I'm also being waited in the other, just next room, but just mind, a lot of things have been said. I will not say a lot. It's just to celebrate Floka as one of the people who have been really fighting for this kind of model, which everyone, you go into meetings across the world in Africa and really see the enthusiasm with this Kenyan innovation, which is being adopted everywhere. So there is something to celebrate from Kenya. And thanks Odengo for really that persistence. It has not been easy, but I think we are there. And so, in this country, decentralized governance system, we have a very unique opportunity. The FLOCA program has shown us that when counties are empowered and resourced and also developed systems like that Kisumu city, they can deliver locally led solutions that are both effective and inclusive. But resources alone are not enough. How they are managed, how decisions are made, and who sits at the table, whether climate action truly delivers, is very, very important. So we can get resources, of course we have been getting them, but how these are managed is very important. And you had it, inclusivity is very important, and the people who are sitting there, I don't want to re-emphasize that. We must face the hard truth also. Climate finance is becoming more competitive in the current geopolitical orientation, particularly across the world. So it's drying up, and in some cases, diminishing. The global financing landscape is tightening, and the competition for adaptation and also mitigation resources is fiercer than ever. This makes it imperative that every coin delivers value, and that value is best achieved when resources are channeled to the well-governed, locally led climate action that responds directly to community priorities. The FLOCA Governance Progress Report and delivery standard, which has been presented by Faith and which we launch it today, provides that clear evidence of what works and what must be strengthened. The standard confirms that counties have established climate change units and planning committees, and that budget allocations for resilience are increasing. Yet, it is also highlights persistent gaps, including in grievance handling. I think you saw the slide there of Faith presenting, awareness creation, and the consistent inclusion of women, youth, persons with disabilities, and indigenous and local communities in that decision making. Yes, we have structures, but the question is, are they really effective and are they efficient? Is it just because the World Bank and FLOCA required that we have these structures? We have this national committee chaired by Busiene, and it is, of course, trickling down at a very local level. We have county reps who are sitting here. At local level, we have committees at one level, but is that sufficient? Are they functional, or is just a decoration? So it's the questions which we have to answer. We need to keep really strengthening ourselves. These findings then gives us both encouragement and a call to action to deepen accountability, institutionalize inclusion, and bridge the gap between national policy and local realities. This is where civil society organizations like ours come in. CSOs act as watchdogs and to ensure transparency, accountability, and equitable resource allocation. And I've always told BUCNA that being there working with Andrino and the team, you are not an extension of government. You have to play your mandate, holding the government accountable, ensuring that things run. And in fact, because there are some elements within even at ward level, at county level, who believe that by being elected as a CSO representative at the county, then you have become now a county worker. So you have really to stick to your work that is holding the government accountable. We provide a bridge between communities and decision makers, making sure that those often left out are not just consulted, but are actively leading adaptation efforts. I want to quote the late Wangari Maathai. She said, "It's the little things citizens do. That's what will make the difference." My little thing is planting trees. And I heard the lady from Kisumu, from Omabe, also saying that. Our little things as civil society, as KPCG, as the forum, as this movement is ensuring that every voice counts, every community matters, and every action leads us towards a just and sustainable future. Our commitment is to strengthen these connections, to work hand in hand with county governments, PIU, development partners, and the community leaders to embed participation, equity, and justice into every stage of climate action driven by FLOCA and the entire government. Together, I can assure you that Kenya's climate response is not only ambitious, but fair. Not only about infrastructure, but about people. And not only about today's projects, but about building resilience for generations to come. Let us deepen this resilience revolution. I actually like that revolution because we are driving it in practice. And guided by that, 1, trust, 2, data, and 3, partnership towards climate justice and sustainable futures for all. By the way, this FLOCA thing is a real manifestation of the imperatives of climate justice. I thank you all.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Medeka Mwenda. Revolution is here with us. And it is stated, whether it is in the Bible or it is in the Quran or it is in our tradition, that those who have the eyes or ears, you see. If you can't see, you hear. But if you don't do the two, then there is an animal which is called what? Then it is that. Ladies and gentlemen, let me take this opportunity to welcome Dr. I call him Dr. Morada Kenodia, the World Bank technical team lead, who has been in the design. The only thing which is unique to people here, Daktari, is the design of FLOCA. FLOCA is a Mercedes-Benz. And anybody who you can drive, you can buy a Mercedes-Benz, but you'll never fix it. So when people are talking, we know where the engine is. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Morada to come and share with us, how did we fix it? Sir, the Benz. My coffee.
Good afternoon, everyone. Allow me to use that protocol. Yeah. You know, I saw I was referred to as doctor in this, but I'm a member of a community forest association in the ward, and I'm also part of the user groups of traditional medicine. So nikafikiria pengine ni hiyo daktari wa miti shamba. But I thank you for the good wishes. As introduced, my name is Morada from the World Bank, and I will not say much. First for me is to say that we really appreciate this effort. I think one thing you will notice from the design of FLOCA, be it with civil society or the conversations that we've had with Senate, is that FLOCA was not designed because things are perfect. FLOCA, first and foremost, is an institutional strengthening. It's a reform program. It was designed to help deepen devolution, to help deepen participatory approaches, because we saw there were gaps. And some of this was coming from the work that we had done with many of you in Makueni, in many other places. And before I forget, the gentleman from Makueni, Mudoka, before you leave, please sign a release form. I want to get the video of what you described here, and we hope that we can be able to share that even with the senators about your participatory process, open tender, all the things that you are doing. Those were like 4 or 5 minutes of pure gold. And I think that needs to be the best practice for counties. I hope it can even be played in Senate, because that's what we need to see more counties doing. So for me, when I see the kind of, I think the lady who spoke from, was it Homa Bay, who talked about that they're doing social audits. Was it Siaya or Homa Bay? Because I think from what we are hearing, everyone is saying FLOCA is a great program. It's doing good work. But that does not mean that we cannot have improvements. So for me, when I hear that civil society and others are doing social audits, when I speak to Senate, I'm always encouraging them and saying, ask questions. Just this week, I was giving examples. I was saying we have to ask ourselves, why is Homa Bay spending only 150,000 to be able, and you can see the tangible results with their nursery, one that I visited, women's nursery group, and I'm seeing counties spending 6 million on nurseries. And I know as a Kenyan what 6 million can deliver. You know, when I get my 100 by 100 that I'm looking for now here, I know what I can do. It may not be a hacienda mansion like the one I saw, but I know what one can do with 6 million. So we really want to encourage, and that's why I was happy to hear, for instance, when Makueni, you say you are sharing the BQs, because everywhere we are going, we are saying that it is the right of project monitoring committees, it is the right of ward committees to get the bill of quantities. And our desire, and to answer the question that was asked, there is no county money and FLOCA money. All of this is county money, and that's why I said it's. But our desire is that this can influence how everything else is done in the county. Yeah, and we've started seeing some of that. When we started KDSP1, KUSP, as Banabala has talked about,
here is taking bold steps in the fight.
Counties were not doing full ESIAs. We know on the environment side they were resourced, they were not as resourced always on the social side, and they did not do it as a matter of practice. But because those programs insisted, and we shall not stop insisting, Bwana Abala Waga, on some of those, because they insisted, but it was not being done. I remember a gentleman from CS telling me, now that our department was formed, they realized kazi ya KDSP and KUSP is not enough, but because they are there, they started doing it, and in fact, they were showing us files of what they have done. So if there are ways that we can work, and we've based most of these programs on minimum standards that are there in Kenyan law, to ensure that these are things that can be able to influence other county processes, would be happy. Specifically on the report, I know that has been presented. It was done at a time, I think, just only about 5 or so months after counties had received the money. I am hoping that you will continue doing this, because I'm sure now the situation has changed. As of when you did, you were talking about 699 wards. I think now there are more. We've seen that there have been, just with the first round, over 2,500 projects. A lot of them in the water sector, with projections of reaching over 500,000 just with the year one round. But we really want to ensure that the quality improves. I think the other thing that I can challenge you to do as you do this report is for us to be able to say, when can we say that there's been good public participation? This is something that I've reflected a lot on. Global evidence shows that not more than 15% of people attend these meetings. Philip and I come from the same ward, Olkeri ward in Kajiado. The people who attend, every time Kajiado County is always inviting, 2-3 people attend. But we have got very vibrant discussions in our WhatsApp group before those people go. Those of us who are here today, we are less than 50. You know, FLOCA, I think, in total over 25,000, I think the number was, and Adino and others can give us, about 27,000 people plus participated in the PCRA process across all the wards. If I was a betting person, which I am not, I am almost willing to hazard that it is actually more than the people who participated in CIDPs. Because in some of the counties, and again it's one of the conditions, some of the counties, like my county, pre-FLOCA, was only doing consultations at the sub-county level. Because FLOCA insisted on doing this at the ward level, that already increased the numbers. But we have to ask ourselves about the nature of this participation. We also understand that FLOCA is not happening in a vacuum. Because of all the great work that you have done, people are already aware about their risks. They were already aware. So even when you do urban planning, we don't always have, you're not starting from fresh. And that's why I agree with you that when we come as a World Bank, we should not assume Kisumu does not know what the urban problems are. So let's reflect on this. In fact, I get very suspicious when Peter gives me reports that tell me 90% of people are happy and they are aware, because I do not anticipate that 90% of people will know what FLOCA is. But I anticipate that 90% of people will know that our rains are not coming when they used to come. And that if FLOCA is addressing that problem, even if only maybe ultimately, even with all the invites, with everything, only 50 people in that room, if I can see that to support the work that CSOs are doing, we want to ramp up our work to ensure that marginalized groups, including, we're also doing a second piece on persons with disabilities, that we do more. Those first PCRAs were good, but when I read them, I remember reading one, and because we had received complaints from the Sengwer, when I read it, it had identified right at the beginning that there are Sengwer in that county. I could not see anywhere where it was talking about what is the impact of climate change on the Sengwer. So the design may not have been as good. And lastly, just because I mentioned complaints, we are receiving very many, the PIE is receiving very many, the counties are receiving very many. This is a success. Grievance redress mechanisms are part of the public participation. So when I explain to my country director, I tell him, I see this as a success. And this is something we have to communicate, because I keep telling them, the urban program, at one point people were saying, oh, KUSP, so many complaints. It is because KUSP is delivering. I tried to translate to him in English that nile mti kona matunda inatupiango mawe. You know, KUSP is delivering. People know what KUSP is doing. I've come to Kisumu. And when they complain, that is their right. They want you to do the things that are right. So please keep talking to people about this grievance redress. Counties, we do not see this as a bad thing. Musifiche, the issue is how you deal with those complaints. So let's take this positively, Peter, and address them. But FLOCA is doing amazing work. Here in Homa Bay, there's a FLOCA project in every single ward. How many projects can say the same? Asanteni sana.
Sir, thank you very much. While you are saying anything that you want to read in TikTok, for us, we are saying that my grandmother is drinking water. While you are saying that you are educated, for me, I'm saying that there is a reverse osmosis in Makueni, and the DC is buying water in a remote village in Makueni under FLOCA. You saw it. While you are saying all the English, that people are not consulted, I was in Isiolo, and a lady in the Manyata just came to say, oh my God, they have never seen it. The radio language, the radio system that used to be complaint, people were throwing sofrias in Isiolo, no longer now they are discussing success. An elite from a town is saying, oh this, oh that. Take time and read it. While you are complaining, counties are flocking to Kenya, struggling to come and benchmark with none other than the FLOCA great. You are complaining. While my grandmother and the people are getting redress mechanism, 4,000. How many grave and redress mechanism we have received so far? Can FLOCA staff stand up? So that people see you, that these guys, FLOCA staff, just stand up. We have more than 30. Stand up, both extended. Makofi kwa hawa watu bwana. Honorable Senator, when I met with you somewhere, and very graciously we discussed, and we said many things, we make things work. And today you are here with us. Senator, you are very passionate about climate change. Here it is climate change. It is not for you. It is not for me. It is not for Akelo. It is not for the chairman. It is my grandmother. We designed it. We are happy. It is working. And we need complaints. If people don't complain to us, we would not allow this social audit. A social audit which is being done with the data which is 1 year old. Well, it is 660, whatever sort. Today, we have a data of 1,550 watts with 2,245 projects, of which 60% is water. And if you understand climate change, to adapt to climate change, you need water to give you your food system. You need water to build your resilience. You need water to adapt to a collapsing and heat within the urban area. It is there. But to my surprise, and also to my cry, that McQueen has now more water, the way he explained it, what he explained has delivered excess water for McQueen County, and my grandmother asked, what can I use this water for? That is the success for me for Floka. When I go to Kitui, the governor asked, Ebu, go back there. Did the bees get water to make them make you honey? He says, yes, but the governor, they have excess. Ladies and gentlemen, today, social audit is being launched. Red Cross have worked. Today, if you go without this program, there would be cattle or livestock dying in millions. Today, there is water for them. Go to Samburu, go to Garbasera and Garbatola, and you will find water projects. Which projects is a landscape in the whole world if it is not flock? Tell me, which one? Which country or which one can wait for McQueen to advance in their climate action, and Kisumu is waiting for 5 years to start from where McQueen started 5 years ago? Is that not injustice? Who can just go and identify 10% negatives and escalate the 10% negative to 90% and then say you are useless? If it would have been that attitude, you would not be driving Mercedes-Benz. The wife of Mark Benz decided to take that very crude machine with her children, 2 of them. When people say this is very dangerous, she drove 46 kilometers. The queens which are saying this, what is this? They only liked the horsepower. She reached. Amen. Ladies and gentlemen, I can pray and also I can take it because this is my grandmother's stage. You've done your part. But because 3 things before now, the suit is bigger than us. 3 things. 1, of the $300 million, we have disbursed more than 90%. And we are now looking for additional money. Many projects have not even disbursed 1%. Is that not a success to take money where it is needed? No country of all the people in the world, whether they sell for whatever, the PCRA was done in all 47 wards. In all. I have the document. It is only Floka that gives civil society 100 million per year to do what they want to do. Which program in this county? Check. Thank you, sir. But I could take 2 years. I will say it, gentlemen. You take 4 years to write a proposal for 10 million. Floka, sit with the people under the tree and you get 100 million. See, that is an innovation. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, the time is not for us. I challenge you to give me a full day to tell you the design, how we did it. The Gen Zs, we have now allocated you 30% of the total Flocker money. And what has been budgeted, which they gave us, is it's about 11 billion. Of the 11 billions, we have given Gen Zs 30%. My mother, 30%. The other 30% for people living with disability, because we have demonstrated that people want it. Are we not solving the problem? So let me take this opportunity to invite none other than Honorable Senator Catherine Muma, who has been highly passionate about this, and request you, once you say what you, don't worry about the time. We have been here. They did not say about the time when big men were talking. When a representative of Wanyonga is talking, or some say, oh, hey, oh, achia, oh, but they did not. But remember, my grandmother is now having 20 billion. Akia mama. Makofi! Over to you.
Asante sana. My job is humble to invite my chair of the caucus. I'm Catherine Muma, senator, member of the climate caucus of the Senate. And our chair is none other than yours truly, Senator Kajwang. Now, I have listened and would just like to thank Team Muratha for the good job that you're doing. The truth is that the funds you are giving now are more responsive to the issues. Of course, you will never get it 100%, simply because you don't have 47 uniform situations. You will learn what works well in Garissa will not work well, may not work well in Kakamega, and so on. So I would like to applaud you for the good job that you're doing. And this issue of climate action is not for one actor. It's not for the World Bank. It's not just for the women. It's not just for the counties. It's for all of us. And I'd like to apologize on behalf of legislators. Kajwang will tell you that we actually had a ping pong between National Assembly and Senate around the county allocation, additional allocations bill, wrangling because of supremacy issues. Of course, in my view, I didn't like that because these funds are going to cost the taxpayer. So when we delay in deploying it, we delay in operationalizing the projects, we also cost the taxpayer a lot more because we did not start on time. And Kajwang, we must be open enough to tell Kenyans, in that instance, we failed Kenyans, and increasingly Kenyans need to, when you're doing your social audit, also audit National and Assembly and Senate to tell us where we didn't play our role as actors supposed to facilitate FLOCA to happen. One thing for me, Muratha knows that at one point I was a consultant for the World Bank on social risk management. We are strong on environmental assessments in Kenya, but the social risk managements are not properly entrenched. In law, they ought to have been entrenched. They were purportedly entrenched by regulation, but have not usually been implemented. As a result, many projects have been stopped because some aspects of social risk assessments were not done. Muratha, I have actually moved a bill. We now have a social risk management bill moved by myself and Senator Sigei in the Senate. We hope that the colleagues will actually support us for us to pass. Now, one recommendation I would make, I came in when I think the civil society was giving a scorecard on the social audit. It didn't seem to score very, very well. One of the things I would want to recommend is that we stop silo activity in the manner in which we work. For the ordinary woman who is an ordinary farmer, she doesn't know who is the Department of Agriculture, who is the Department of Wildlife, who is the Department of Environment, what is FLOCA. They just want simple ways of knowing what are the good ways, simple actions in which we can participate in order to change our livelihoods and to change our environment. I'd like to raise one issue on behalf of those farmers. I've also become a farmer. In this region, and in Kisumu, where I come from, we have human-animal conflict with monkeys. Now, I'm sure Floka is based on climate, but this woman who is planting her bananas and they are being eaten by monkeys in Nyahera, and apparently the monkeys belong to the tourist department, Kenya Wildlife Department. Where do we bring in a conversation among the three that would actually also have climate-smart actions that take care of the monkey? I raised a question once when C.S. Mutua was CS for tourism. And I asked, in all this tree planting business, why don't we plant fruit trees in the parks in order to keep the animals in the parks? Because if we don't have food in the parks, what do you think the monkeys will eat? They must come and share with the humans, because their eating habits are very close to the humans. So in Kisumu, why not plant? If you look at the hills around Kibos, the Nandi Hills, what if we planted trees? It's a climate action issue. It takes care of the monkeys. The monkeys leave us alone as small-scale farmers, and everybody is happy. Kenya Wildlife is happy. The farmers are happy. Agriculture is thriving. Why do we act in silos? And the monkeys are also happy. So we need, if you speak to the women in Nyahera, they are likely to tell you something about the monkeys. So ensure that the lived experiences of women, and for climate smart, the lived experiences of monkeys also matter. Thank you very much. Hey, I'm supposed to. I'm not used to this, but that's the protocol. So now allow me to invite our chair of climate action, very, very passionate about what he does, and also our chair of PAC, Senator Moses Kajwang. Karibu sana.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Senator Catherine Muma, for your passionate presentation. The lake. We call it Sikri. Sikri. Now, Sikri is not an island, but it is becoming an island. Due to climate change, Sikri is slowly cutting off from the mainland. In fact, now, you need, in rainy season, you will need, sometimes boats help people to cross. But before, Sikri was very much part of the mainland. So for those who are climate change cynics, for those who do not believe, those of us who come from this region, we have been able to walk to Sikri on foot, but we are seeing in the next one generation, you'll need a boat or you'll need a bridge to cross over to Sikri. I don't know whether you have come across the hippos around or the crocodiles around. There's a time a hippo was killed and it was found to be wearing earrings. You know, hippos have fairly small ears. And so the question was, how did a hippo get earrings? So when you meet a hippo around, it might belong to somebody. They are not just wild. They belong to people. Even crocodiles, don't mess with them. They belong to people. You might mess with the wrong people. But I think it's more of myth than reality, that we believe that hippos are domesticated. But I also believe there's another realm that we might not be aware of, where people are able to talk to animals, and that is perhaps part of indigenous knowledge. When you go somewhere, you learn something. When you go to Kitui, or you go to Makueni, you are told of snakes dropping from the sky. I think that happened in real life. A snake just dropped from the sky and interfered with some people that the snake did not like. My job really was to preside over the release of the Floka Social Audit Report. And I want to thank Kevin. Kevin had really harassed me to come here, but he's a good friend of mine, so I took it in good stride. I'm very fortunate that in this room, all the players, all the key stakeholders, we have built a very good personal and professional relationship over time. Moratha, Homa Bay boasts of quite a number of gains within the climate change space. Now, Roy, you should know that when we were in Sharm el-Sheikh with the governor, when she attended our first conference of parties, it is what led to subsequent engagements, and we visited the World Bank office. And I think Homa Bay is now a model when it comes to compliance and when it comes to advancing the climate agenda. Peter, I want to congratulate you and the team that you lead. I have said it time and time again. You guys do not operate like a typical government directorate. You've got an entrepreneurial spirit. You operate almost like a small bank. You are almost like Equity in the manner, in the speed with which you execute, in the manner in which you engage. We have benefited, Moratha, from Peter's team. I think they have hosted us to a conference or a workshop in Mombasa, where we brought together members of the Finance Committee, the Climate Change Caucus, and it generated a lot of interest. In fact, when we reported back to the House, the entire House, particularly the Speaker of the Senate, represented here by Mark Agutu. Mark is a researcher in the Speaker's office, and the Speaker is very passionate about this subject. The Speaker insisted that we needed to have another session with the Flocker team in Nairobi. Now, we did a session, but we went to Naivasha. Again, we had a very good number of MPs who were present, and I think that it continues to generate a lot of interest. Of course, the feedback which came when we went to Naivasha is that members of the National Assembly feel like they've been left out. And at some point, they threatened to walk out because they were asking, how is this impacting on me as a constituency? But we told them that all these projects are happening in your constituency. If it is ward-based, the ward exists in a constituency. The fact that you are not controlling that money should not make you exit the room. And I think that's why we have just, Raila Odinga has just made the announcement for the 18th time that we need to get members of National Assembly out of NGCDF so that they can be playing their role of oversight, their role of representation, and their role of legislation. So Peter and the team that was in Naivasha, you do recall that the members of National Assembly were particularly very sensitive, saying that why should they be in a room to discuss money that does not go through their hands? And I think we need to change that perception, that money should not be a top-down thing that goes through the hands of the leadership. Money should be something that is left to the local communities, to the local actors to decide and define what they want to do. And when you take that route, you get better results. Mithika has gone to the other meeting where we were. I think GIZ are also talking about climate financing. And Mithika is a gentleman we were with in school, and the rest of the PACJA team that is here. I am always very proud when I go to global events, and I find PACJA is the one that has organized civil society. And I see people like Mithika, people like Kilonzo, and many others within PACJA leading the conversation. I saw how strongly they fought when we were in Baku, Azerbaijan, when we were demanding the 1.3 trillion as funding under the new collectively NCQG. And I hope that they're going to put up a similarly strong fight when the world convenes in Brazil, in Belém. I can trust Mithika and his team to put up a strong fight. For a long time, whenever we go into global or even local climate conversations, for some time we were proud of our act, Climate Change Act of 2016. Dr. Wilbur Otichilo is in the next room. And we were proud because we were the first country in sub-Saharan Africa to have a Climate Change Act. When Nigeria had their Climate Change Act 2 years ago, it was a big thing that the person who sponsored it, the representative called Sam Onigbo, was even given a head of state, I think the highest civilian award in Nigeria for successfully processing the Climate Change Act. And in our parliamentary networks across Africa, many countries are still struggling to have a legislative framework to ensure that climate change is mainstreamed. Beyond the act, we've been boasting of our energy mix and the uptake of renewables in Kenya. I am so happy that now we have Flocker That is a third thing that we boast of in global events. I do recall when we went for the COP in Dubai, there was a delegation from Sierra Leone. I think Sierra Leone. There was a minister from Sierra Leone who had come to the Kenyan pavilion just to understand and to go through the presentation on how Floca works. So we have something that we can export to the rest of the world. And moreover, I hope we didn't copy it from somewhere. I hope it is also locally led, locally made, so that we can say that there's something that was built in Kenya that can be used as a success story and be replicated to other areas. You have structured Floca very well. I have interacted with some of the conditional grants and programs that have been sponsored by the World Bank. The National Agriculture and Rural Inclusive Growth Project, NARIP, had its sunset, but it also had some issues, a few audit queries that found their way before my committee. I do recall one county, Nandi. Nandi used part of NARIP to set up the Nandi creameries. I think they were setting up a cooperative creameries. But there's something they did, that they fixed some of the money that was supposed to be coming from NARIP and were supposed to do matching financing. They put the money in a call deposit account. A call deposit account really is what? Is an interest earning account. Now, when you do that with government finances, it's a little bit dicey, because first of all, if there's interest, that interest then needs to reflect in your revenue statements that we fixed 100 million as we were waiting for counterpart funding. That 100 million has generated interest of 5 million, therefore it can be shown in our statement of revenues. We could not trace the interest from that. And it was quite an untidy matter. I do recall we were asking the EACC to be involved, and you do not want the EACC to be involved in donor financing, because that then would be symptomatic of serious flaws in design. But the manner in which Floca is designed, I believe that perhaps there are lessons that have been learned. And I hope that all conditional grants or all donor funds should be locally led. It should be from bottom up rather than from top down. We have had conversations also with regards to other conditional grants. At some point, we were with CS Wahome when she was in charge of housing. I believe she's still in charge of housing. Kenya Informal Settlement Program, KISIP, it's also a World Bank program. And we had some concerns around certain conditions, but let's use Floca as a benchmark. Let's use it as a benchmark. I think we will get our conditional grants right if we perfect this model. As you said, Muratha, it is work in progress, but I feel like it's good work in progress. We have seen from the financial perspective, the audit report, the financial audit report, the one that's been done by the Auditor General. I think Floca got an unqualified opinion, an unqualified Now, civil society has now done a social audit, and I'll be really keen to read that report. To what extent are we meeting our emission reduction target? To what extent are we linking this to our NDCs? So that when we go to subsequent COPs, I know we did the stock take contribution. I don't know whether that's in this report. If it is not, then I hope the lady who made the good presentation, perhaps that's an area for further investigation, an area for further research, but as parliamentarians, we see targets in this manner, so that it is a very logical flow. Let me conclude by hoping that we can have Floca 2. Muratha, we spoke when we were in Namibia. And Peter, thank you because you allowed us to make the right engagements to access $1 million from the Green Climate Fund from their readiness facility. I think it's been extremely difficult to access GCF money. But when we went to Namibia, we found a gentleman from GCF, and by the way, I'm told that they are looking to relocate or to set up an office outside South Korea. And Peter, have we